Test, test. How's the audio? Hello, beautiful monads. Thank you for being here. We're gonna. Oh, Jesus. Hold on. We're gonna. Oh, Jesus. Sorry. It was loud for me. The music was loud for me. That was loud. Okay, hold on. Alright. We're gonna get started here soon. Feel free to say hello. And we shall show face. I love that purple face devil emoji thing. Let's go. All right, should we do it? Should we go to face? Let's get the purple faces going. Awesome, love it. More faces, people. Work with me. I lost my beverage. Beep, 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 beep. Alright, let's just do the big face. What's up, everybody? My name is Jan Erickson. This is my channel, Monday Monad, which is about Hyperianism and inner star actualization. Now, today, what I want to do, what I've kind of been wanting to do previously, but now that I'm really getting into like reaction content and stuff, is I want to introduce y'all to one of my favorite YouTubers. Her name is Jessie Gender, and she has this one specific episode that she has made about fear. Like the ultimate subject of the video is fear. However, she's examining fear through a Star Trek episode. Okay, so if there's any Star Trek fans here in the house, please let yourself be known because I love Star Trek. So anyways, we're going to be examining fear through a particular episode of Star Trek Voyager in which Captain Janeway literally has to defeat the personified archetype of fear. So we are going to watch this, and I have to pause it quite regularly to give my own commentary on it and give like a Hyperion perspective, interjecting how Hyperianism deals with situations that are fearful, or, you know, you're struggling with fear. So that's what we are going to do. And yeah, like I said, this YouTuber, I really do enjoy this YouTuber. I've actually met her in person. She's actually been over to my house for dinner. She was like a friend of a friend, and she came along with my other friend, and very awesome person. I'm also a proud patron of Jessie too. I love her work. She's very intelligent. She's very well adjusted, well read, and extremely intelligent and knowledgeable in trans issues, trans topics, and controversies. So it's like, that's why I love the name Jessie Gender. It's like a very heroic, like it's like my gender hero. But first, before we get into everything, let's say hello. I am so happy to see you all here tonight. Let's see, Zero, so good to see you. Thank you so much for coming. Heather, thank you for coming. Renaissance Fairy, hello. Roberta, and oh, a quick thank you to our moderators. We got Philip, we got Jewel, and we got Susan. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I appreciate you being here and keeping our chat healthy and happy because it is, after all, Friday night. It's our Friday night chat where we examine, I don't know, we have a little bit more fun. So I got my shadow beverage here. Does everybody have your treats? Do you got your food? I save the calories for the beer. I don't know. That's a treat to me. It's like liquid bread, okay? I don't know if I like these sunglasses more than I like the other ones. I like being well lit, but the light hurts my eyes after a while, so that's why I wear the sunglasses. Philip, stop. Enough bread, okay? I don't want to find you laying on the floor with a phone in one hand, with your finger on the 9, and then, like, bread all over you, okay? I don't know where Loppy is. I think Loppy's asleep. Cassie has dark. Oh, hello, Cassie. Cassie's my best friend. Thank you for coming tonight. Dark chocolate covered fruit. I like that. Lisa says, I've got orange juice. Hello, Lisa. I actually had orange juice today. Because I wanted something sweet and I needed the sugar. Sugar? I said that weird. Oh. Just water here, but I really want coffee. You know, I love coffee, but I'll tell you what. I can't drink it so late anymore. It keeps me up at night. Cherry Coke, pasta, and salad. But not a pasta salad, okay. Just a few more minutes and we're going to get right into our video about fear. Fear is actually a really interesting topic. There's so many ways to be fearful of things. I remember there was a time in my life where I actually had a large collection of reptiles and tarantulas, and some exotic reptiles that were dangerous and stuff like that. So I learned that handling things that like that, working with, like, for example, I have a pet rattlesnake. Now, it's not defanged or anything, like that. It's just left alone. But there's a certain way I interact with it that obviously I don't get myself hurt because of knowledge. Having a rattlesnake could be something that you're scared of. However, I've conquered that fear through education, knowledge, learning about it, learning about its behaviors. And what I find is that even though it's very venomous, its strike only has a certain range of motion. So it can only strike half its body length, which is mathematics. Oh, look at that. Mathematics popping in there. And so with that, it's like you can judge how to interact with it. And I have like a snake hook and stuff. It's actually quite easy. But anyways, it's like anything you're scared of, for me, in my experience, anything that frightens you, all you have to do is just lean into education. You have to learn about it. And eventually, it's not going to be so frightening. That's the whole point of like learning and evolving and adapting and growing. Cassie's scared of porcelain dolls. Cassie, do you remember when I had porcelain dolls? I don't know if you were over, like, I had a ton of porcelain dolls. I had to take those suckers down and, like, put them in the closet and, like, put their faces down and, like, cover them. Because they would just look at me. I don't know. Dolls are weird. Zero says, I love reptiles, but I'm terrified of spiders when they're tiny. You know, having so many, and I'm not saying like one or two tarantulas, I'm talking like definitely 50 plus different species of tarantulas. Um, oh, I know, because it's like I have the ring light, so it's like donut eyes. If it's distracting, I can like take my glasses off. But like I said, it hurts my eyes. I know. Sorry. Anyways, um, my googly eyes. Okay, what was I saying? Oh yeah, no. Like I've had so much experience with different species of tarantulas, and again, it's like you adjust. Like you learn how what moves in what way. You learn that there are species of tarantulas that are a lot more gentler and docile than others, and once you learn behaviors of things, they're less frightening. What if you wake up and a tarantula is on your face? Says Dropbox. Hi, Dropbox. Well, I know it's so funny because like I would tell people, I'm like I have several tarantulas, but it's like they would imagine. I don't know what people imagine because for me it's like everything's in its own little home in its box, like on the shelf, lined up and alphabetized. But people, I feel like imagine them like free range roaming all around. And even with the rattlesnakes, a lot of people ask me like, "What do you do with that?" It's like nothing. It's like I mean, what do you do with your fish? It's that same kind of comparison. Like, do you constantly like put your hand in the tank and like try to handle your fish and take your fish for a walk and all that? It's like no, it's rattlesnakes the same kind of thing. And besides, rattlesnakes, they can be scary, but frankly, the only reason they coil up is because they're afraid. They don't want to be bugged. You're too big, that's scary, so it's like they're not after you. They're just afraid of you. So, fear goes both ways. Was that all the snacks? Really? You people holding out on your snacks? Let me get a few more snacks and then we're going to start the show. Cassie, you think the dolls are more scared of me than I am of it? Well, I mean, you're the one that can throw them away. Or burn them. Or just, I don't know, put them in the closet. Hari says, I have no money for snacks. I hate that when that happens. Beer, Van Winter, beer is dinner, right? Yeah. Hey, Morg. Morg's having fries. I love fries. You know what are my favorite fries is sweet potato fries. Those are the best, especially if they're like waffle shaped. Then you can like scoop them, scoop, dip up. I don't know, whatever. Oh, there you go, Ari. Hey, Ari. Ari's got applesauce. Yeah, any kind of shape of sweet potato, really. But like, there's something about I keep hitting my hand on the fucking desk. Um, any kind of sweet potatoes, really. Yams. I'll just scoot my desk back. Mistress Angelica, hello. Gonna grab some chocolate. I love chocolate. And fry sauce. Sweet potatoes. Fries and fry sauce. Nobody knows what fry sauce is. There's probably a couple of people in here that knows what fry sauce is. What's up, Perry? Lisa Grace? Lisa Grace, you know what's up. So, anyways, what do you think? Should we get on with our show? Should we get on with our thingy? What's up, Paul? Oh my god. I just moved the pillow out from underneath my ass and behind me, and I just dropped like 3 feet. That was funny. Whomp. So yeah, like I said, this YouTuber is Jessie Gender. Look up Jessie Gender on YouTube. She does fucking fantastic logical takes on things. Like, especially when the whole fiasco over J.K. Rowling coming out as a TERF, which is like a trans exclusionary feminist. She was so spitfire at tearing apart J.K. Rowling's essay on pretty much why you should be transphobic. It's just really sickening what's come out there recently, so... But yeah, no, I really like Jessie Gender. Like I said, I'm a patron of them and everything, so... Roberta. Beer. How many beer lovers are in here? Like, is that just like the go-to? I'm like, because that's my, I don't know, that's my personal go-to when I actually can have a drink. Susan, no beer for me. Lisa likes beer. Roberta says tonight and tonight only. Tyler says, I love beer, but I can't drink. Yeah, I struggle with alcoholism. I do find that if I allow myself to have some here and there, then that helps. But it just, every time I do get that feeling like, ooh, that was so delicious. Like, I want it again the next day. So that's when I have to exercise being in control and assertive. And it's been going, you know, it's been exacerbated since the pandemic stuff. But recently it's been going very well. Like, I've quit cigarettes. I've passed a month of quitting cigarettes, and I've definitely been tempted. It's definitely there, but I address it and I move head on. And the alcohol definitely has been exacerbated recently too, but that's getting under under wraps. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a hard road. I've been wanting to talk more about it specifically, so we might do that in the future. Talk about addiction of a. Well, I think we did a live stream in the past, like just a couple few weeks ago, but we will definitely talk about like struggles with alcoholism and things like that again. Oh, Ari's talking about the vape. Yeah, no, I've done some vaping, like nicotine vaping. That's really hard. I almost feel like it's worse than smoking because at least with smoking, it's very smelly and it's a very dirty habit. Honestly, as much as I love it, it is totally just like dirty. So that's I feel like is easier to quit. But I've done some of the vape and that's so convenient and it's like tasteless and you can like do it here and there without really getting like bothered for it. Quitting cigarettes is hard though. There's many different ways to quit cigarettes and nicotine. You have to find what works for you. The tapering off method for me personally does not work. What works best is just digging my heels in and doing like the cold turkey method because I just prepare to endure those phases. So like the first 3 days to a week, it's getting out of your system. So when you make it past that, it's all in your head. So it's just dealing with your habits and your habitual tendencies. I don't know. That's the importance of shadow work. How did we get on cigarettes? Were we going to start our show? Okay. And smash the like button if you haven't. Especially because we got a lot of viewers in the house tonight. Do do do. Roberta says, edibles keep me from crying. I don't smoke cigarettes too much. I don't. I appreciate an edible here and there, but for the most part, I don't really do that. I used to just be like a traditional pot smoker, like in a glass pipe. But these days, I do mostly like the vape cartridges. I love that because again, yeah, it's convenient. Oh, Heather, yeah, says everything starts tasting better after quitting cigarettes. I've noticed that actually. I'm getting there. Like food and stuff taste a lot more vibrant now that I'm not smoking all the time. So let's get to it. And again, like I said, I have to pause this very frequently because I want to give like the Hyperion input on it. Also, I want you guys to comment about it, like how you feel about it, like what you think is about what's being said here about fear. And I don't who here like loves Star Trek? Because I love Star Trek. I'm not like a super geek, but like I love it to death. It's a good thumb sucking show because I like uh I like science fiction and stuff. Yeah, Zero. And what I love about this too is like there's only like two iconic episodes, Star Trek episodes that I love that I just they're iconic. I love them. And this episode that's being covered here is one of them. Yeah, Laura, hello, Laura says Star Trek, yes. Uh-huh. Let's go. Let me know if you can hear it well.
Fear. It surrounds us, follows us, stalks us. It knows us intimately. It knows our darkest secrets and how to exploit them. Fear is everywhere, and it feels overwhelming. It feels powerful, strong. And there are so many types of fear: fear of darkness, fear of death, fear of heights, fear of depths, fear of blood, fear of water, fear of attention, fear of neglect, irrational, instinctual, emotional, logical. But all fears, every one of them, have a single thing in common. This is Sacred Treks.
So this is Jessie Gender's this is her from her series which she calls Sacred Treks, and so she grabs things out from like certain specific like Star Trek episodes and tries to take like a valuable lesson out of it to learn, and use that as an example to talk about some things. And I think this topic of fear is fucking fabulous, and I love this intro. And already she's painted up just like the archetype of fear that manifests and like personifies itself in this.
A series where we look at Star Trek to try to see what life lessons we can take from it. And
Today, today we're gonna be doing this specific episode in Star Trek Voyager. It's very fucking fascinating. It's very psychological too. Like some of episodes, like it's weird. You can almost categorize like episodes that they just kind of like roll the dice through. It's like some of them are just about spatial anomalies, and then some of them get really psychological. You're just like, dang, what a trip. Really makes you think.
the episode The Thaw begins with one of the scariest scenes in all of Star Trek: Harry Kim playing the clarinet. Nothing more terrifying. Soon after, though,
Honestly.
Voyager finds a former trading hub planet that's now dead and lifeless 19 years after a solar flare has hit it. Everyone on the planet has died, except for 3 people found below the surface, hooked into artificial hibernation pods, basically cryogenically frozen. Well, I say 3, but there were actually 5, but 2 of them are now dead.
So, yeah, let me just repeat that again for those of you if you're not catching on. The whole premise of the show is that they come across the planet the planet is dead, but they find these pods of people. There's 3 people, but really there's 5 people, but 2 of them are dead. That's what's left of the planet. Like, that's it.
And they were supposed to come out of hibernation 4 years earlier, so what went wrong? What went wrong indeed? An air of dread hangs over the proceedings as the crew beam the hibernation pods onto Voyager, and they soon discover that the 3 people living in stasis are hooked up into a shared artificial environment in their minds. Kind of like the Matrix. Does this mean that the whole episode is actually a transgender metaphor? Sadly, no. But you can't blame a good tran for trying.
Yeah.
The Doctor informs the crew that the survivors in the ponds...
Jessie Gender is an absolute open transgender and just takes you through the journey, like, the whole way. She's so brave, she's so fantastic, and just so fucking intelligent at researching and just, like, finding correct information, and, like, it's profound. Like I said, check out some of her takes on these transphobic sort of turf logical bullshit.
Are all experiencing extended periods of heightened fear.
Could be evidence of extreme fear.
Because they can't remove the people from the pods without risking brain damage, Janeway decides to send the Eternal Ensign, Harry Kim, and B'Elanna into the program to see what's wrong. And inside, we find a carnival. Tons of fun, filled with dancing figures, literally played by Cirque du Soleil performers. It initially appears safe and joyous, yet the music has this tiny hint of menace to it, and that feeling of dread never really dissipates as we move further.
I love that aesthetic, that Cirque du Soleil, like, aesthetic. Just a weird, like, room full of clowns. So, here they sent their crew into the simulation that the people that are alive in these pods, their brains are hooked up so that they're still, like, experiencing a reality, but it's not, you know, the reality, the actual reality that everybody else is in. They're put, because their bodies are in stasis, they have the same, like, manifestation of themselves, but in this reality. And this reality, this little, like, dream box that they're stuck in, what happens is it builds its aesthetic and itself off of what they are thinking and feeling, like their subconscious. So it's almost like the dream box or dream world that they're hooked up to knows their subconscious better than they do. So it found that they have a lot of deep-seated fears about things. And this box then starts to manifest as this weird, creepy circus of, like, these weird clowns that are very threatening and just, like, bizarre, and but it's supposed to be fun, right? But it's, like, a terrible fun.
Further into this dreamlike world, because it's soon revealed that a man is watching over everyone. The clown.
The clown.
As we will see.
The clown is the head. The clown is the representation of fear here. It is the archetype of fear. The clown. A room full of clowns.
Soon learn this clown is the manifestation of fear itself, brought forth by the collected fear of the inhabitants of the pod, who created the environment to manifest whatever they were feeling at the time. And since they were feeling so much existential dread over the death of their planet, well, here the clown is. But it's interesting that this world dominated by fear, the one that fear chooses to control, is not a dark and dreary place, but a carnival fun world. In fact, this world evokes the color and style of an old Star Trek The Original Series episode, filling us Trekkies with warm nostalgia, and thankfully without the old-fashioned sexism. This environment to many Trekkies is safe, familiar, and intimate. And yet, this is exactly where fear waits. You see, fear comes from a place of knowing you.
Yep. Listen to this. This is, like, so fucking important. Listen to this.
It knows you intimately and deeply. And that's what makes fear so strong. because it knows what your deepest loves and desires are, and your worries surrounding them. It plays on them, on the familiar and the personal, and then twists them, bends them to its own will. Just as the clown sits in control,
it twists them and bends them to its own will. Everything personal that fear knows about you, if you were to put it into a person, it knows everything about you, and it's going to purposefully twist what it knows about you to make you bend to its will.
Of the familiar Star Trekian world that would normally feel safe, nostalgic, and familiar. But here, it most certainly is not. And the clown begins to play with Kim and Balana, lulling them into that familiar feeling, until the threat makes itself clearly apparent.
Let's get out of here.
You got it.
Guillotine
It's at that
anybody?
moment that
I
everything
think
turns
not.
and Kim is suddenly placed into a guillotine by everyone around him, about to be killed by my BDSM trainer. I mean, just some guy that happens to be there. But the inhabitants of the pod quickly step in and stop the proceedings, telling Fear, the
What
clown,
my
that Kim and
BDSM trainer? Hold on. We gotta, rewind here. I gotta see that again. The BDSM trainer. Look at that guy. Mother is made of meat. Holy lord. Oh my lord. That is thick.
You got it.
It's at that moment that everything turns and Kim is suddenly placed into a guillotine by everyone around him, about to be killed by my BDSM trainer.
My BDSM trainer.
I mean,
yeah.
just some guy that
Just some
happens
guy.
to be
I
there.
don't know.
But the inhabitants of the pod quickly step in and stop the proceedings, telling Fear, the clown, that Kim and Balana must come from a ship, and killing them would mean that even more would come to figure out what happened to them.
Who knows what will happen to this world if you hurt them?
Who knows?
I do. I know.
Who knows what will happen to this world if you hurt them?
And Fear doesn't want his world invaded. He wants to dominate the few people that are there, not to have a crowd of people, because Fear knows that too many people dissipates fear often. Though you can work a crowd up into a fervid haze of fear. But it's now that everything is explained to Kim and Balana, and the clown, Fear, makes his power known.
I am merely what has been created and is being created by his brain, her brain, and now yours.
Yeah, I love the emphasis on that point, though. The actual, declaration, I'm being created by your brain, because it's true. Everything we experience in reality is not real. It doesn't mean it's easy to just, swipe it away, but understanding that it's not real, it's all in our heads. It's not as big as some people try to make it out to be. That's part of the mind war. It's recognizing that it is made up by your brain. You're just getting a reaction, and if you can understand what the reaction is and bypass that, that's becoming more hyper aware and being all right, I'm not going to be overcome by fear. I'm going to understand it, and I'm going to use it and get through it.
And yours.
As I said before, just like the clown sits in control of the familiar environment of Trekkies, so too does he currently know everything about Kim and Balana. He's literally latched into their brain, and then, surprisingly, he claims to speak for them.
You will talk to me. I speak for them. And I speak for you now. You don't understand that yet. You don't accept it. But you will.
I speak for them, and I speak for you now. You don't accept that yet, but you will. Sounds abusive, anybody?
Fear, because it knows us so intimately, often claims to speak for us. It claims to be our driving emotion, the one that controls us, the thing that motivates us into action. It wants to be that, and quite often can be. It whispers in our ear that because it knows us so well, we should let it dictate to us how we act. Let it speak for us. It knows what's best for us. I'm Fear. Listen to Fear. I'll tell you what you need to do. Yet, the episode begins to prove how untrue this seeming truth of Fear is, because in Fear's world, reality is warped and bended. there is no physical continuity. Items move and things jump around and appear on different sides of the room without warning. The director of this...
That's really cool. I mean, it's like she's literally talking about like how in this little reality it's very dreamlike, and fear's this persona of fear, this clown of fear, is in control of it. So this reality that it has is very warped, it's very bended, it's very controlled, it's very structured.
This episode, Marvin Rush, was inspired by the works of famed surrealist Italian director Federico Fellini, an artist known for using his images and worlds to not create a world of reality continuity, but emotional continuity. Emotional continuity is still truth, it still has a coherence to it. For example, when the clown wishes to move across the room, he just does. When he wishes to have his crowd behind him, he has the crowd behind him. When he wants an object, it's there because we can tell that that's what he wanted, and so it makes sense that it's now there. It has a logic of its own, but it's not reality.
It's an illusion.
When your only reality is an illusion, then illusion is a reality.
In Fear's world, it does have its own logic, and you can easily get stuck in that unless you can think your way out of it.
But in fact, it's just a world where emotional truth dominates. And emotional truth is powerful and important. And as Star Trek has always...
The world of fear is a world where only emotional truth dominates. That's where the world of fear is. I love this so much. It's so fantastic. It's an emotional truth. It's not objective reality. Like, yeah, like y'all, if you can find this episode of Star Trek Voyager, you should watch the whole thing because it's like one of my most favorite episodes ever, just because of all of this like crazy, amazing insight to like, I don't know, conquering fear. Like, if there's something that's trying to scare you, you can overcome it. Bet your ass you can. Anything that's trying to scare you.
Argued it's just as important as logical truth. But this world is not balance between logic and emotion, but just fully emotion. It is a world controlled by an emotion, a specific one, fear. Even the other people in this world, the dancers and performers, are just extensions of fear itself, just reverberations of him. Always in the background, emphasizing and playing off of what the clown is doing. Even in the images the camera creates, the clown dominates the attention, the focus of every shot. Everything is driving towards him. Fear controls in this world, just as fear can control human beings in the real world. But he only controls the emotional. And I think that's an important distinction to never forget. Though
fear only controls the emotional. In Hyperianism, when we share what it means to be hyper aware, this is part of the process of learning not to be dominated by emotions.
Sometimes, when fear controls us, it's hard to remember it. But fear allows B'Elanna to leave, who warns Janeway that if she tries to free any of the hostages, including Harry Kim, from the machine, fear will kill them. So, because this is Star Trek, the crew goes to another meeting in the conference room, and the sense of dread and building tension and anxiety continues to heighten. Even the conference room is lit darker than before, highlighting the growing mood, and it's here that Janeway begins to muse on the purpose of fear.
When fear holds you hostage, how do you make it let go?
When fear holds you hostage, how do you make it let go? Answer that question for me in the chat. I have to pee. And then we'll continue. If fear holds you hostage, how do you make it let go? You see how I remembered to turn my microphone on this time? Anyways, isn't this so great? I love this so much. Let's see. Becoming aware of the truth is a great start to letting go of the fear, says Lisa Grace. Exactly. That's what I was talking about earlier when I was telling you about having reptiles and like spiders and like rattlesnakes. Like at first that seemed crazy and ridiculous, but it's like once you learn about them and like their very finite amount of behavior, their very finite behavior patterns, they're not scary at all. Fear is finite. It is. The point of fear is it tries to convince you that it isn't, that it will never end, that it's eternal. But fear will always end.
That is the question, isn't it? Fear is necessary. It can be helpful for survival. It can be a useful tool, a scalpel even. But when it controls you, when it dominates every part of you like a hammer to the heart, how do you defeat it? And why do we let it control us?
Okay, hold on. I lost my beer. What the fuck? I lost my beer. Hold on. There we go.
Back in the program, fear begins to torment poor Ensign Kim, playing on his biggest fears.
Like the man said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
And no, surprisingly, Ensign Kim's biggest fears is not that he will stay an ensign forever, a deeply rational fear for him. He has other fears. Getting old, or being considered a baby, of being sick or helpless. A fear that many of us feel every day. But fear begins to mock him as he recites, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself."
Keep repeating, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Which is true.
Yeah.
Fear is the only thing that we have to fear.
Yeah, it's true.
But fear is something worth fearing, wouldn't you say? And so the tension, as it has this whole episode, continues to build more and more. Apprehension, anxiety. Kim is about to be killed, murdered, just for fear's plaything. It's all building to this moment, and...
Excuse me. You're not holding that properly. Correct positioning of the index finger is necessary for optimal dexterity.
Fear.
Yes.
Diffused. The music cuts out, and all the tension that has been building this entire episode is released.
Fuck yeah.
The doctor steps in, sent by Janeway to negotiate with the clown, and he stops the torture of Kim with a simple explanation of how to hold the knife properly. The doctor's mind cannot be read by fear because he's a program. Fear does not know the doctor.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, like, the doctor here in this instance is like a holographic program. So that's what they sent in there to speak with this virtualized manifestation of fear that's got these people held hostage. That, mind you, it's not like they're actually in their physical bodies in there. It's just that their brains are hooked up to there, making their own, like, fake manifestation within that. But back in their pod, if they're experiencing fear, it does affect with their body, and you can be scared to death.
And because fear doesn't know the doctor, fear can't play off the doctor, because fear has to know us. Yet despite his indignance, he is impotent against the doctor.
How am I?
He can't play off the doctor because fear has to know us, but he can't know the doctor because he can't read his mind. If fear can't know you deeply, deep down inside, if fear doesn't really know you, and it's just like a total fallacy that they even think they know you well, it's not going to work out for fear. Fear has to know you, and if it doesn't know you well, then fear can be conquered.
supposed to negotiate if I don't know what you're thinking?
I have a very trustworthy face.
Michael McKean, who plays the clown to perfection, by the way, constantly tries to spin back up the tension in his conversation with the Doctor, but the Doctor just knocks it down because Fear has no power over his mind. This inability for Fear to control the Doctor is also why when the Doctor offers Fear a simulated brain to keep himself alive while Voyager removes the hostages, Fear immediately turns it down.
We would provide continuing input from a simulated brain. A computer model that would generate...
Simulated brain? Simulated?
I myself have a comparable.
It won't work. It's a lie. Tell him, Harry.
Fear doesn't simply wish to continue to exist, it wishes to dominate, control, and it can't do that with a simulated brain.
Fuck yeah. It doesn't, it just, you know, fuck yeah.
It needs familiarity. It needs something that can feel it. The Doctor fails to negotiate with Fear because Fear cannot really be negotiated with. When Fear dominates us, when Fear controls us, it either exists or it doesn't. So what do you do in the face of that?
It either exists or it doesn't.
Well, I think most of us, our first reaction would be to try to distract ourselves from Fear. And that's what the crew does. Using a hint from one of the pod people, and that's an entirely different movie. Anyway, sorry, pod person,
Allergies.
Janeway and B'Elanna try to turn off the simulation, this time by having the Doctor distract Fear. Fear can be distracted for a moment, for a little bit, but it's always there, in the back of our minds, even if we
Sorry.
try to distract ourselves from it. Fear likes to creep into our brains, and we can try to ignore it, but we still feel it.
Yeah, we can try to... See, this is what's so interesting about fear. There is a way to defeat it, and when you understand that, it seems simple, right? But it still has an effect on you. And that's the point of allowing yourself to experience life, what what it offers, what you go through. Experience the fear, but then also question it so that you can overcome it and conquer it.
Down in our guts. It's there, waiting. And when it comes back with a vengeance.
It's an attack! It's an attack! Red alert! Red alert!
And then, in anger, he kills the poor man who gave the crew the idea in the first place to try to distract Fear.
He's dead.
And as a result, Janeway...
Okay, it's so interesting though. So the guy dies because he was like put into a guillotine. But that wasn't actually real. That was fake. But he experienced the fear of that. So it's like if only he would have understood to his core and really like integrated that information and realized it was fake, could have survived that. But because it felt so real and it was so overwhelming, those sensations and that experience, it he had a heart attack and died essentially.
understandably becomes frustrated because she let a man die, lamenting,
Fear can provide pleasure. To seek fear is to seek the boundaries of one's sensory experience.
But what does fear?
I want to... Sorry. Fear can provide pleasure. It can take you to, like, the boundaries of your physical experience. Like, that's the thing, too. Think about times where fear is actually fucking fun. You know what? I love horror movies. More like psychological stuff. Like, not so much, like, direct gore. But I love, like, the psychological things. I love psychological movies. I love watching movies where it's about, like, demons and possession because those scare the crap out of me. Even though I understand they're fake and that's not real, like, the whole point of being entertained by a movie is to, like, throw yourself into it and pretend it's real. So when you do that, it's very thrilling when you watch, that. And, Mistress Angelica, also roller coasters. Yeah, I love fun rides. Like, absolutely. I love roller coasters and crazy rides and everything, except for the fact I've actually done some research into how, like, rides are designed, and there's a lot of places where there's not the experts you think there are designing those things. So that's a little concerning. Fear can be fun, so that's the thing. That's the beauty of it. It's like we don't have to, like, constantly deny fear. Like, fear can be awesome. Like, fear could be like a roller coaster. Like, fear could give you a thrill. but also fear can try to take you over. So it's important to understand fear. Understand fear itself.
And then, in anger, he kills the poor man who gave the crew the idea in the first place to try to distract fear.
He's dead.
And as a result, Janeway understandably becomes frustrated because she let a man die, lamenting,
Fear can provide pleasure. To seek fear is to seek the boundaries of one's sensory experience.
But what does fear seek? At the end of the ride.
what happens to all the fear at the end? What does fear seek?
What does fear seek?
Ultimately, the Doctor appears back in the program and begins Janeway's gambit.
Ultimatum! Ultimatum. She would give me an ultimatum?
He warns the clown that the clown will be shut off in 60 seconds unless all the hostages are released. The clown, panicking, tries to negotiate, but the Doctor is relentless and continues to count down over and over and over again, saying, "This is the choice that you have to make. You have no other options."
43 seconds. She will allow you to keep one person on the system. The other hostages must be released.
One? Never! I won't agree!
You have 30 seconds to avoid termination.
But then, he offers the carrot.
So you see what's happening now? The Doctor's coming in and saying, Janeway will trade all of the hostages for one person, and that doesn't set well with the archetype of fear. He doesn't like our ultimatums. He doesn't like that at all, because he wants to be the one in control. So here, Janeway's offering the ultimatum: you either accept one person to control and release everybody else, or we destroy everything and we go ahead and accept to kill those people. Not kill. Oh my god, I can't say that word. I don't think my stream is big enough for that shit yet. Anyways.
Janeway.
The one hostage you will be allowed to keep is Captain Janeway herself.
She would choose to be with me?
And this is an offer fear can't refuse, because Janeway, she's just so enticing, isn't she? To control and dominate the person who is controlling and dominating others, to let a person who is in charge of others be dominated by fear. That's an opportunity that can't be turned down.
So they want to have that one person that they're proposing to trade everybody else for is Captain Janeway herself. Captain Janeway herself is in charge and a leader of other people. Okay. Other people. And so it's like, that's the enticing thing for fear right now. I want to dominate you. So that's what's being offered now.
Janeway arrives in the program and the hostages leave. And as Janeway and the clown begin to settle into their endless time alone together, Janeway reveals something to the clown.
I've known feeling. It's a very healthy thing most of the time. You warn us of danger, remind us of our limits, protect us from carelessness. I've learned to trust fear.
To Janeway, fear is familiar. Fear is something she feels every day, yet she trusts it because she knows the truth about fear. And it turns out that this Janeway isn't real, but it's a hologram, with the real Janeway still outside the program, just letting her brain be scanned to trick the clown. You see, in this moment, the clown realizes...
That's awesome. It's not the real Janeway, it's just like a hologram of Janeway, but her brain is being scanned, so according to the archetype of fear, it thinks it's a real brain. So it thinks it's in control of somebody when really they're very well guarded. And obviously that's more in scientific terms, because obviously she's not like technically hooked up to this weird chaotic dream world. She's only they're only simulating that she is while she's still getting the information from it. So it's like when you're armed with knowledge, that's the way you can mitigate that.
Realizes that it's beaten, defeated, done. It made a mistake. And that was always how it was going to be. Because fear is defeatable. In fact, all fear, is made to be defeated.
Yes!
The thing...
Oh my god. All fear. At the end of this, from Jessie Gender, and fuck, man, this is spitting from her. At the end of this, all fear is made to be defeated. Any tactic of fear is made to be defeated. Ultimately, it has an end.
The thing that all types of fear have in common is that they end. That is what the episode tells us, and it's the truth. But it's what the episode shows us, but doesn't say, that I think is the true lesson to be learned here. How fear is defeated. The world that we live in today seems to be built on fear. Everything is scary and terrifying. Global warming, pandemics, people telling us to be afraid of each other because of our differences, a fear of coming together. Even simple things seem terrifying. Putting ourselves out into the world, talking to other people for some of us, the anxiety that comes from social situations. For me, maybe it's even something as simple as writing a script of a video, staring into the whiteness of a page, afraid to put down words on paper. That blank page, as deep as any dark void. The fear of it sometimes feels overwhelming. Or for some of us can be depression, anxiety, the fear of upcoming events, paralyzing us into inaction. Fear can sometimes control us. It can control so much of our lives. It can dominate us. It can dominate society, dominate us personally. It knows how to whisper or even yell in our ears the exact things we don't want to hear, but in some ways we do. We want to hear it sometimes. Hear it tell us that we aren't good enough, or that others are terrifying, or that there's nothing worth fighting for. It wants us, and sometimes we want to live in that emotional truth, that emotional reality. Not a balance between logic and emotion. Just emotion in the end. Because you see, in the end, the way to defeat fear is to know that it is a part of you. That emotional truth is a part of you. It can help you. It can help you realize the things that you fear and keep you safe, but you don't want to let it control you.
Nope. Emotional truth is important, but you can't let it control you. You don't want to let it control you. It's a part of you. It's there. Recognize it. But it's not the dominant factor. And fear is a part of that.
As Star Trek has always taught us, we don't want emotion to control us. We want it to be a part of us. But logic is also just as much a part of that.
Yep. Logic is also much a part of that. Reason is also much a part of that. Learning about things, being knowledgeable things is also much a part of that. To dominate fear is to know it and know that it ultimately has an end. Every fear has an end. Every fear has an end if you explore it and you pledge yourself to defeat it. And it all starts with realizing that fear has a fake reality. It wants to control you. It wants to grip you by the throat and demand things from you. And ultimately, it can't, because it eventually has to come to an end because it's an emotion. It's fake. It's a reality tunnel. It's something that you can examine and go, that's not real. You can acknowledge it. You can feel it. And then you can realize there's a bigger world out there. That's the point of a reality tunnel, is it's small. And collectively, there's a bigger world out there. And it's important to be altruistic, where you can be an individual, recognize other individuals, and yet unify together as one. Anyways, let's see what else is being said here. Oh, Roberta Singer says anything built on emotions is like building a house on sand. Yes, if you're building your whole thing on fear, it's a house of sand.
To defeat fear, because fear does want to be defeated, you have to have the drive to defeat it. You have to want to defeat it.
To defeat fear, you have to... I love that so much! You have to want to defeat it. You have to have the drive to defeat it. You have to have the will to defeat the fear. You can defeat the fear. You don't always have to give it the attention it wants, but you can defeat the fear by knowing it. At least know it. Knowing is not the same as giving attention to.
To understand that, you have to have the drive to see reality, to see through the fear, to see the truth. That the world is good, that people are kind, that you are good enough. But fear wants to play the game with you. But it wants to play to lose. You just have to know that it will lose, and it will. And that...
Yes, you have to know it will lose, and it will.
...is what Janeway ultimately knows. Because she knows fear as much as fear knows her. And that leaves us with the episode's haunting final moments. Because instead of the typical coda on the bridge of the ship, all we are left at the end of this episode is this scene.
Like all fear, you eventually vanish.
I'm afraid.
I know.
If you face fear head on, all it will simply do is slip away. You just have to know that you are stronger, because you are. We are always stronger than fear.
Yeah. If you face fear head on with knowledge, you understand it. You're not afraid to know it. And face it straight on. I mean, it's... the cat's in the bag, baby.
Hey everybody! I hope you enjoyed that one. I was trying to do something new with
Yay.
Sacred Treks because I haven't done a Sacred Treks in a while, so I figured...
So I like this Sacred Trek series because these are not just like let's have these like cute little humble lessons. Like these are like really logical like things to think about. Like you need to face fear by knowing it. Knowing what it wants. It always wants to be defeated because that's the point of fear. It has to end. It's an emotion. It's there. It's gonna die eventually.
I'd try to do something different and new with it, so
anyways,
I hope
please, if you can like support Jessie Gender, I think that's a really good idea. She is a wonderful, logical, open trans woman that I adore, and I just like I love this lesson. And when I saw that she was doing a Sacred Trek episode about this episode in particular, it made me so happy. Like I can't tell you, I've actually seen this several times. Because I just love it so much. Because it's such an important topic. And it really, yeah, thank you everybody. Yeah, it really is so insightful. Because fear is just so gripping and it just wants to dominate you and it wants to bully you and it wants to, run you into the ground and run you into being silent. But it always wants to be defeated. It can be defeated by knowing it and understanding it, and that doesn't mean not experiencing it. You can experience the fear, you can feel the feelings, you can feel the symptoms of fear, but you can also, with your knowledge, keep strong and conquer it by pressing forward and facing it directly. It's the fear. It's the sensation of fear. Now, you know, if there's things out there trying to make you afraid, giving attention to them does no good. Attention to your emotions of fear and what kind of reality that fear is trying to create, that's what you head on. Bullseye. Anyways, so let's see, where are we at? We have been going an hour and a half. Yeah, that's awesome. Anyways, yeah, no, that's if you want to react to more Jessie Gender content, let me know. I think that would be awesome. Let's get the music back going. Love our music. Oh, Roberta says, I fear height. I actually, okay, no. Oh, it's so weird. It's like, logically, like, I understand I'm okay if I'm in an area where, like, you get that feeling like you're up too high. Like, logically, I get I'm okay, but there's something emotional that takes over me, and I feel like I'm gonna fall. I've been in many high places, and, like, you look over the edge or something of, like, a balcony or some shit like that, and even though, like, you rationally understand it, you're like, I feel like my body's just gonna randomly, like, lurch forward, and then I'm gonna be done. So, there's something about the fear of heights where, like, that kind of intermingles with it. Yeah, please follow Jessie Gender. I highly recommend them. They're a very logical individual, and she is fabulous, and she's an open trans woman, and very knowledgeable. Another video I love by her is she examines non-binary people in history and brings out how we have always existed. Oh yeah, Cassie says the call of the void when you are high up. So there's this weird thing where it's like it's nothing to do with unaliving yourselves. It's like it's about like the actual, like, if you're up high, it's like the call of the void where you could just like fall over, or like if you're driving around a cliffside, it's like, well, I could just like jerk my car over there, but it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Dropbox says, I seem to always, like, survive if I fall from high places in my dreams. Do any of you have falling dreams? Sometimes I have that. It drives me nuts. Like, I wake up in a jump, like, oh! So, last time I streamed this Monday, I said we were going to cover somebody who's, like, worse than Andrew Tate, if that's possible. But I kind of pushed it forward. Would you like to do that this Monday? And by the way, if you subscribe to my Patreon, you get access to secret streams and stuff. I already have one up that you can go back and watch. It's a deep dive into Elon Musk. Yeah, also if you're part of my Patreon, or you get access to my Discord, in which you can, like, send me links and suggestions of content to react to. I love reaction content. It's taken me a long time in my YouTube experience to discover that I love, like, reaction content. So, like, that's the direction I'm going. I love to just sit here and, like, open up stuff and, like, look at it and, like, I don't know, pick out, like, the important Hyperion lessons from it. That's my favorite thing to do. Laura says, good topic, Jen. Thanks for this. Also, I think fear sometimes comes from conditioned reflexes that we haven't evolved from. Yes, and that's the whole point of being Hyperion, is to struggle and evolve from the struggle and become beyond human. We can overcome fear. It doesn't mean we never experience fear again. It just means we understand it well enough to have it and experience it in the right places. And even when we should, be fearful of something, it's for the right reasons. I mean, it does protect us in certain instances. Anyways, I think that shall do it for the evening, my friends. I just wanted to introduce you to Jessie Gender and just examine some of the content that she makes, and I love it so much. It's so logical. It makes so much sense. Examine your feelings, do your shadow work. Accept who you are as an individual first. It really is important, because once you do that, then you can accept yourself as part of a collective, as part of everything else. And together, we will get to the teleological end. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming, Roberta. Thank you for coming, Mistress Angelica. Thank you for coming, Morg, always good to see you. Philip, thank you so much for coming and moderating. Stop with the bread. Cassidy, good to see you. Thank you for coming. Susan, thank you so much for moderating for me. I really appreciate that. I know Jewel's in here. Thank you so much, Jewel, for moderating. Yeah, good seeing you too, Morg. Goodbye, Perry. Thank you for coming. Laura, Mistress, Imaginista, Tyler, Elise. Dropbox, good to see you. Zero, good to see you. Lisa, Grace. Heather, good to see you. Good to see you, everybody. Yeah, it's Friday. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. We will be going live on Monday, as usual, around 4 p.m. Pacific time. We're gonna continue on, baby. Yep. Have a fun weekend. Take a load off. Go to the beach. Go outside. Go for a little jog. Go to the park. Go for a little run. Breathe some fresh air. Do a couple of deep knee bends. Breathe a little bit, because fear can be conquered, babies. We got this. Anyways, good night, dear monads. Goodbye.